I'm a political scientist. I have spent 20 years analyzing the problems and shortcomings of democracies and economies in different places of the world. Most of my work has been about racism, exclusion, and nationalism. About 5 years ago, I decided that instead of becoming a specialist on problems, I want to become a specialist on solutions. Instead of asking what went wrong, I now want to ask what has worked, where, when, and under what conditions. I'm still a political scientist, so my focus is still on democracy and economics, but now I'm studying examples of people or groups who have successfully addressed or even overcome the two problems I find the most relevant today for all of us: the crisis of capitalism and the crisis of politics. Let me explain. I think there are two universal crises today, and the two are related. One is the crisis of politics. Most politicians do not represent us. Politics has deteriorated into a spectacle. The average citizen merely watches, but no longer controls. As a result, most people feel powerless and alienated from politics. The other crisis is economic. It seems that there is no end to competition. Most markets have become so crowded and expensive that average people need to wait for a financial crash or natural disaster to find opportunities. Without a severe natural disaster forcing all current homeowners of St. Pete Beach to abandon their homes, most of us will not be able to buy a house there, ever. Most democracies and most economies have lost their core promise: equal opportunity and fairness for markets and self-rule for democracy. Let me say this again. The core promise of democracy is self-rule, and the core promise of markets is equal opportunity and fairness. In most countries, we have lost both. We are told that there are no alternatives to capitalism and to representative democracy, which relies on voting to select some people to do politics for us. This is a lie. In fact, my research has shown that there are many alternatives and possibilities practiced all over the world. Our options are literally limitless. From ancient Athens to contemporary Switzerland, in Vermont, and among many first, native, or indigenous people of the Americas and Africa, we can find examples of societies where politics is the business of everybody, and where regular people get together on a regular basis to decide how they want to live and how they want to spend their money. They practice direct democracy instead of leaving it to politicians. Some of those societies can also teach us lessons on how to organize markets in such a way that extreme inequalities are avoided and equal opportunity and fairness protected. Equal opportunity and fairness on markets requires that we all start from the same position. Because of the nature of compound interest and the fact that most goods only deliver benefits as long as they're not broadly shared, average people can never catch up with those who bought early or inherited millions. At a 5% return, $1 million will give you $50,000 in interest alone every year. That is more than the average American earns in a year of work. The world now has almost 2,000 billionaires. Cities like Tokyo, New York, and London now have between 300 and 400,000 millionaires living in them. Just imagine how much space they occupy and how difficult they make it for all of us to find affordable housing there. Or think of education. The average family income of a student attending Harvard is $450,000 a year. If you cannot afford Harvard, your chances of getting a job over a Harvard graduate are next to zero. This is the end of fairness and equal opportunity. What can be done? The societies I have studied have developed some very promising measures to protect equal opportunity and fairness on markets and to ensure that average people can have a say in politics. Here are some of the main lessons they can teach us. First, if we want democracy, we need to do something for it and become actively involved. Particularly lawmaking can and should be the business of every citizen, not just of a few lawmakers. I propose the creation of legal duty, similar to jury duty, for every citizen. Number two, for democracy to work, local communities need to be able to make serious decisions about how they want to live and how they want to spend their money. Number three, we need laws, rules, and regulations that limit the power and influence of politicians. After all, democracy means rule of the people, not rule of politicians. And number four, instead of debating minimum wages, we should start thinking about maximum wages and upper limits to wealth. And we should find ways how the wealth accumulated by some becomes available again to all of us after they die. If we do that, we don't need to wait for a financial crash to find opportunities. If these proposals seem utopian to you, I have two things to say. First, we need new utopias, different from the ones we currently have. Liberal democracy or socialism cannot be our only choices. And second, all of the measures proposed here are already in practice or they have been in the past. They all have proven to work. Some of them can be easily achieved with the right kind of laws, regulations, and taxes. Most of our political and economic problems are caused by relying too much on leaders instead of taking matters into our own hands. Voting is not central to democracy. Capitalism is not our only choice. The possibilities of organizing our political and economic lives are limitless. We need the imagination and the courage to step up and become actively involved in politics instead of leaving it to a few elites, elected or not. Together, we can take back politics, and once we do so, we can take back and control markets, particularly in our own local communities. Democracy means self-rule, and self-rule cannot be delegated.